Well, thank you again for having me. I really appreciate the chance to get to chat with you guys again here at SMEAL. I want to start by giving a little disclosure. I do have a dog here at home with me that barks here and there. So if you hear that, don't be alarmed. I apologize, but she should be good for the duration of this. So just thanks again for your flexibility. But again, so my name is Caitlin Schenkel. I am what we call the TA manager for hiring really all Penn State students at Insight Global. I've been with Insight Global for about 7 years. I'm from the Philadelphia area, so born and raised in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, live in the city now. And I've had the chance over the years to get up to Penn State's campus typically about 3 to 4 times a semester. And now obviously this is a little bit more virtual, so we're finding our new normal. But again, happy to be getting involved however we can in this new virtual world. So I'm going to start by telling you a bit about Insight Global, telling you a bit about who we are, what we do, kind of just a nice little overview. And the point of that is to show you what kind of reasoning I'd have to be here talking with you about LinkedIn networking, kind of the reason, my experience to do so. And then we'll go into chatting about, again, building your network, building your LinkedIn profile, and just kind of standing out and really branding yourself to hopefully land that internship or job in the future. And again, if you have any questions, I do have my full screen on for display settings, but Sherry, if you have any questions that pop up, you can stop me and we can go through them here and there. So first things first, again, I'm with Insight Global. We are a recruiting and staffing firm. So pretty much what we do in its simplest form is we provide our clients candidates to hire. So we've got clients all across the US and Canada. We are all across the US and Canada as well. We've got 58 offices across all of North America. We've been around for about 20 years. We were founded in 2001 in actually our co-founder's basement. So we've come quite far. It is not the most glamorous site to begin with, kind of that Steve Jobs look and feel, but again, it works somehow, and we've grown. We've now got, like I said, 58 offices across the US and Canada. In that time, coming into kind of the industry in about 2001, we've since grown to now be the 3rd largest company of our kind. Again, I've been here for about 7 years. When I first started here, we had about 30 offices. Around, again, now we've added about 28 or so in the last even just 5 years or so. A lot of our clients are on the Fortune 1000 list. A lot of the kind of familiar names you might hear are companies like Nike and Johnson & Johnson and NBC and Comcast and Microsoft, Bank of America. These are just a few of 5,000 plus clients that we work with on a daily basis across the country. We've got 5 divisions at this point. So we staff what we call our IT, accounting, engineering and finance, government, managed services, and then our executive searches teams. Pretty much all these divisions do the same thing for different groups within companies. So at the end of the day, all these divisions are doing together is, again, finding the best talent for our clients to then hire. And again, here's where we're located across the US and Canada. And I've had the issue where videos don't really work well on this platform. So I'll just kind of skip the video for now and send it out in a later link if you'd like. But this is just a little bit more about our purpose and kind of what we're doing here at Insight Global. So our purpose when it comes to working for our kind of people externally, I should say, is to be the light. We like to be the light for those looking for work. We're in a really rare situation that in this current economy and current environment, that we're lucky to be able to provide folks that are looking for work. So we're very proud of that. We don't take that lightly. So that's a big part of our purpose. And then our purpose internally is to grow our employees professionally, personally, and financially. To do that, we focus on a few major things. And first of that being is that only promoting from within. The entire firm, we all come into the company in the same position, our entry level position. Our CEO came into the company in that role. I did myself, and then you work your way up. So it's a very much promote from within environment that really fosters development and training. We also offer mentorship programs. Again, we all come into the same role. So when you have folks that are been in your shoes, they're going to be a really good mentor for you as well. We also really live by our shared values and create a culture that lives by our shared values. And these shared values are listed right here at the beginning of this video. But again, I can get that out to you guys at a later date. Just it doesn't work too well on this platform playing the video. There's no sound to it. So I'll just keep on moving. So again, today's goals, I mentioned this previously, but the biggest thing that I want to do for you guys today is expand your knowledge on networking, building your own network and your brand, building your LinkedIn, again, building your professional brand, and then learning how to get hired, learning how to, again, market yourself in a way that you can get either your internship or job that you're looking to get in the future. So starting out with networking, what is networking? So networking, I think it's easier to think about it kind of what is it not to begin with. I think most people think of networking typically as kind of you put your suit on, you go to an event, and then you go home, and the networking was that event. You know, people that are shaking hands and that's it. It's really not just that kind of isolated occurrence. What it more so is a mindset. You know, it's having that kind of open mindset in all that you do. You never know if you're going to meet somebody that can impact your life. Whether it be, you know, virtually on LinkedIn or in person in a class, you know, out one night, you know, at the bar, you never know who you're going to interact with. So it's about kind of having that, that networking mindset and having that open mindset, which is really kind of the interest in learning in the future, socializing and connecting for the long term is a good way to think about it. So tips for networking. The most important tip that I can give you today is to really be yourself and to be genuine. I think it can be really, really hard when you're trying to, you know, impress somebody, trying to get a job, trying to make a good impression, and then trying to have to fake it. You know, those are very hard things to do all together. So I think the best thing you can do for yourself is to be yourself, and the rest will come naturally. You know, the more that you can kind of be yourself, the more that you have confidence, and that shines through in a conversation. So be yourself throughout everything that you're kind of doing when it comes to building your brand, whether it be in person or virtually. Here it says, know your goals for networking, and your goals can be a lot of different things. It could be just to build your network. It can be just to get started with something, whether it be, again, building your LinkedIn or just getting started and learning what interests you in a professional or personal manner. Or it could be to try and get a job or to get promoted. Again, there's a lot of different goals that you could have, and that's okay. A lot of these are self-explanatory, but when you're having networking conversations, a really good tip is to always ask open-ended questions. And again, that kind of shows that conversational manner that you could have. You know, when you're talking, say you're networking with me and you ask me a lot of yes or no questions, it's going to be a very choppy conversation. It's going to be a very one-sided conversation. So my advice would be really to ask a lot of open-ended questions, to also give kind of your input in the conversation as well, to make it a back and forth situation versus just kind of a one-way conversation. That's really important in kind of all that you do, but especially in networking. And then again, just stay in touch. You know, after you network with somebody and, you know, build a connection, keep that going, keep that up. That's kind of what a network really is a whole network of people that you've met throughout your entire life. So I think a really big part of that is to stay in touch, and you know, whether, again, that be virtually, you know, through LinkedIn or staying in contact, you know, via phone calls or email, they all work. So where to network? There's a lot of places that you can network. And again, thinking about networking as a mindset, you want to be kind of doing it in all that you do. But a good place to start would be company events just like this, you know, getting involved in info sessions, going to career fairs, going to actual networking events, getting involved in competitions that you might have on campus, talking to your professors, talking to friends and family friends and neighbors and people you used to babysit for. Again, thinking about people from that kind of all aspects of your life. Getting involved in professional associations, you know, think about groups on campus like the AMA or, you know, Women in Business, for example. So getting involved in different clubs that you could potentially expand your network in as well. And then, of course, LinkedIn, which we'll get into. So that being said, what is LinkedIn? So LinkedIn is pretty much a social media site with a professional twist. That's kind of a good way to put it. You know, you still have your homepage that has your news feed that you're able to scroll through and see what's going on in people's lives. But again, now it's going to be more of a professional life. So it's definitely, again, a social tool, but a little bit more of a professional twist to it. And it's a really good way to communicate with other individuals, whether it be, you know, people that are in your class or professors or potential employers, or just people that could work in your industry or that are in what you want to get into. Again, that kind of is that networking piece too that we'll get into a little bit here in the future. Here we go. So a little bit more about LinkedIn here we'll kind of get into. Up and then start chatting about it. So the biggest thing that I can tell you about LinkedIn is that you got to have one to get started. So if you don't have one yet, that's okay. But my advice is after this, session, to have one and make a LinkedIn, and just you got to start somewhere. And you think about how a company might use LinkedIn and their LinkedIn page to build their brand. You want to do the same for yourself. You want to view your LinkedIn profile as kind of a look into your brand, to who you are. So think about a way that you want to be perceived on your LinkedIn profile. Think about what you want to put on there to, again, start to help really build your brand, whether it be what you're involved in on campus or your interest, even skills that you might have. Again, we'll get into all this in more detail in the future, but just thinking about ideas about building your brand. LinkedIn is also a really powerful job board. It is, if not the most, one of the most popular ways that employers like myself find and talk with candidates, whether it be through LinkedIn messages or, viewing profiles when getting a resume. But it's a really powerful way to interact with employees and have employees interact with students. So my biggest advice too is to have that profile made so you can really apply to jobs right through LinkedIn, which we'll get to in a little bit here as well. Again, it's also a really good way to stay up to date with industries and with industry news and companies and what's going on with different companies. Again, as social media sites like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, as you use them to kind of post what's going on with your life, the same thing happens with LinkedIn and industries and companies. So it's a good way to stay up to date with all that's going on in that regard as well. Another tip here, so when you first get a LinkedIn profile, you want to definitely add your email address to it so you can have it'll be your login, so you'll have to do that. But what you want to do is adjust your email notification settings. That way you can get any communications to your email. I know it kind of in the beginning of anything, it can be hard to think to check it all the time, to check your LinkedIn inbox itself and LinkedIn website. So if you have it go into your inbox on your email, you'll get more accustomed to checking that and have the notifications go there. So I would make that a big change right from the get-go. And again, that way you can get emails when you have people viewing your profile or when you have a connection that's pending, or when you have again, potentially an in-mail. So again, that's a good way to kind of stay up to date with what you have going on your LinkedIn profile. Also, I would customize your profile URL, and pretty much you do that and we'll go in there and play with this a little bit and suggest you do the same. But when you go into your profile, you can click edit public profile, and you can actually change your website name to be just your name to make it a little bit easier to share that link on, resumes, professional websites, business cards, signatures, all of the above. But it's really good to have, once you have that profile made on LinkedIn and have, your URL changed to be your name, to add that to a lot of what you do. It's a good way to kind of get people to go right to your website versus having to search around for it. And then again, request recommendations from supervisors, from coworkers, from classmates, anybody that you get involved with, that you work with, to kind of help build up your profile as well. So in regards to what a profile should include here we go. So you want to start by having a picture. You want to kind of build that personable connection that you can do with having kind of the picture there. And then you want to add a headline. And this is good. This can be a very, and actually I'll go to the next page so I can, we'll start here actually. You'll see in a minute here an example of a profile. But again, after your picture, you'll see a headline, and you want to make this personalized to you. You want to think about what's going to make you stand out. There's a lot of people that are in your shoes right now, whether you be a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So what's going to make you stand out from them? So think about, putting in there looking for a position or actively seeking for a position in marketing and sales, or very ambitious, candidate looking for this and that. So think about, words that describe you and make you stand out in that regard as well. Your summary is a really good chance to, again, be a little bit more of an explanation than your headline, but still a great chance to tell your story. I love when I'm reading a candidate's profile and they've got their own little summary written about a personal story or how they got to where they are today. Those are profiles that I really connect with right away and reach out to when it comes to jobs as well. So that summary can be a really good way to stand out from others that are in your shoes as well. And then of course you'll have your experience and then recommendations. So here's an example of a profile. It's one of my colleagues in our DC office. Again, it has what she was involved in. It has some work that she's done on campus, has her title and her headline at the top there, and then it has kind of her little summary. So again, a good example of what you could kind of think about for a profile in the future. So building your profile, what do you want to start with? What are some of the basics here? So we'll get all these listed up here. So start by building connections, and we'll get into it here in a minute, who you should connect with, but just think of everyone that you've ever interacted with. It's a good place to start. So think about your family, your friends, professors, colleagues, coworkers, you know, all of the above, really. Then once you have the basics done as well, you want to start thinking about articles that you can share, or what you can kind of share to start build your brand and what interests you on LinkedIn and on kind of on your website, for lack of a better word. Again, recommendations, you want to get involved in groups. So there's so many different groups on LinkedIn. They're kind of like Facebook groups, if you want to think of it that way, if that's even a thing, you know, still nowadays. But you can actually join groups on LinkedIn that, you know, might have the same interests as you or have the same background as you or whatever it may be. So it's a really good way to network with there as well. And then of course you want to start adding and following companies and organizations. Here we go. Then again, I mentioned that we're going to get into some connections, who to add. So think about friends and family, classmates, professors, mentors that you've had, people that you've gone on trips with, study abroad, volunteer clubs, student orgs. And again, anyone that you interact with really with at your time at Penn State, at home, think about your friends from home and their friends and their professors. And again, you want to kind of get involved and build a network wherever you possibly can and build a good sized network too. And to that point, it's okay to add connections that you don't know personally. That's what networking is getting to know somebody and kind of putting your best, you know, foot forward to build that connection, to build that relationship. So I would say don't be afraid to connect with somebody that you don't personally know. You know, that's kind of, again, if they were already in your network, you might already have that information. So never be afraid to do so. And, you know, I would say when you reach out to somebody that you don't really know personally, add a note in there. Always make it personalized. You'll see when you hop on LinkedIn, you can connect with somebody, it'll say, you know, add a personal note, and always do so and say, hey, I'm interested in this company, or I love the industry that you're in. I'd love to talk more about it. Again, there's a lot of different ways that you can connect with somebody, but I think it's always a good idea to put your best foot forward and to never be afraid to reach out to somebody and to build that relationship. So here we go. Let's talk about marketing yourself. Again, we'll get into the next slide here. But again, you want to be able to tell employers if you're looking for a position. That's a big part of LinkedIn too, is being able to find a job and find potential, you know, jobs that could be a good fit for you, or industries or things like that. So you're able to actually let employers know on your profile if you are looking for a position. And you do that by, and again, this is going to get kind of granular here, going into, you know, ways to actually use LinkedIn. What I'll say before I get into this is that it's easiest to just get in there and try. So after this, I'd recommend you getting into LinkedIn today or tomorrow and playing around a little bit, and you'll see these buttons that'll look familiar, and you'll be able to actually enter things like jobs and career interests and things like that. But again, you see here, you're able to actually select jobs that might interest you. You're able to actually click a filter for career interests. That kind of helps narrow down your job search and trying to help you think of things that interest you as well. And then again, like I said, let employers know that you're open. So you're able on this page right here, you know, to kind of, you know, explain more about the status of your job search. And that's going to be right at the middle of the page here. Versus where are you at in your search and the status. And then at the top, it says let recruiters know you're open. Click on or off for that. And again, this is an example of what the employer sees when we are doing recruiting on LinkedIn. So there's actually a whole tab set for candidates who are looking for positions. So thinking about getting hired, where to begin? And I would say, let's go back here a little bit. I would say a good place to start truly is on your alumni page. You know, on your school page on LinkedIn, hop on your alumni page, and this is the next page here, and it'll start showing you different where different alumni work and what they're involved in industry-wise, position-wise, company-wise, and can kind of help you narrow down your job search and help you figure out where your interests are and what companies might fit into that interest, because you never know what kind of company you might run into on LinkedIn that you hadn't heard of before. So I think it's a really good place to start by just exploring, playing around, and being able to really, again, get familiar with what alumni from your school, from your program, have gotten into post-grad. So searching for companies. So we'll get into this a little bit here. So the first thing you want to do is click on the jobs tab. So you see here up at the top middle here of this screen. That's going to be where you actually start your job search. So you're able to, again, enter your like career interest filters, search for locations, search for job titles and keywords. You can save jobs, but a lot of that's going to happen. Just play around with this jobs tab. And there's the dog. I apologize. There we go. And what I would say is, going next to the next page here, you want to click all filters to further refine your search. Again, the more that you play around with this, the more that you'll see what interests you. I always say start really big, like a big umbrella, and then work your way in. That's kind of the best way to start, is to kind of, you know, cast the biggest branch that you can, and then again, filter in from there. Again, the filters here, really, there's a lot here that you can play with. So I would say take the time to hop in here and just play around when you're not looking for a job, just to get used to it for when you are. You can look at jobs that were posted anytime or in the past 24 hours. You can look at different locations. You can look at different companies specifically, or more so industries or functions, experience levels, or more. So again, I think this is really important that you get in there and just try it out a little bit, because it really is the kind of tool that the more you play with it, the more experience you get, the better you get at it. So again, kind of going back into some researching a company and how to find, what could be a good fit for you. Look at their profile. Review reviews for the company on LinkedIn. Review job descriptions. Take a look at the interactions that some of their employees have with the profile on LinkedIn. Is the company sharing a lot on their profile? Is it a pretty stale profile? Think of those kind of things and looking through the profile. Then go ahead and actually reach out to mutual connections or employees. I would say start out with, if you find a company that you like, start with alumni. Start by going to kind of searching the company, or going to your alumni tool, searching the company there, and just trying to build a connection through that kind of, that SMEAL connection or that alumni connection. But also, like I mentioned before, if you don't have any alumni that are at the company, still reach out to employees. Employees love that and love seeing someone that's, bold enough to kind of reach out to somebody like that kind of out of the blue. So I always recommend that, and do your research. That's a good way to kind of, again, get your foot in the door, and get your name out there within a company. Again, here's an example of a company page and also connections that you might have. So kind of in the middle of a company page, it'll show you, again, who that might be connected there, that works there, a good place to start your research. And then just to kind of finish up here, a little bit left, I would say that the biggest, part of finishing up in a job search is staying in the know. And you want to do that by setting up job alerts. If you find companies that you like, if you find jobs that you like, just save them. Then you'll get alerted as they get updated, or if new ones come, they come right to your inbox or to your profile. So it's a really good way to kind of keep yourself in the know of what's going on in your job search. Review videos for common questions that are asked in interviews. Get ready for an interview and use LinkedIn as a tool to do so. There's so many videos that are shared by different companies, by schools, by different professors, by all of the above that can get you ready for interviews. And I think it's really good to watch more than one, and to get advice from different companies, industries, people, before kind of settling on how you're going to approach an interview. And can get the inside scoop. Think about people that that work at the company, connections that you can make, people that work at the company. Even just do your research from what you can see online. That's a good start as well. But definitely use LinkedIn as a tool to get the inside scoop to prepare for your interviews. And lastly, I'm here to help as well. Whether it be reviewing LinkedIn profiles or resumes, any questions that you might have about a job search or standing out on LinkedIn, I'm here to help. Again, I've been in recruiting for quite a while now, so I'm happy to give any advice that I possibly can when it comes to your brand, networking, or your job search overall.